Let's be real for a second. When you think about the end of the world, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For most of us, it's fighting over that last can of beans, right? But here's the terrifying truth. Starvation isn't what's going to get most people. No, the real threats are so much faster. So, if it's not starvation, then what is it? I mean, is it violence? The elements? Yeah, those are all huge factors for sure. But the biggest killers? They're the ones we've basically forgotten how to fight in our clean, modern world. Yep, you heard that right. Now look, finding food is going to be a massive problem long-term, no doubt. But that's a slow burn. In those first chaotic weeks and months, it's the things you don't see coming that will take out the most people. And they'll do it with horrifying speed. And here's the kicker. Our greatest strength, all these incredible complex systems of sanitation, medicine, and infrastructure that keep us safe every single day, that becomes our biggest weakness the second it all shuts down. The real killers are born right there, in that failure. Okay, let's dive right into our first threat. I'm talking about the invisible killers, the microscopic world that's all around us, just waiting for our defenses to drop. Think about this. The moment water treatment plants go offline, every tap, every river, every single puddle becomes a potential death trap. A disease like cholera is so vicious, it can take a perfectly healthy person and dehydrate them to death in a matter of hours. Not days, hours. One bad water source could literally wipe out an entire town. And this just perfectly shows how much our whole mindset has to shift. I mean, today, a scraped knee, you wash it, put a bandage on it, and you're done. You don't even think about it. But in a post-collapse world, that same little scrape is now a wide-open invitation for a deadly infection. We're talking sepsis, where your own immune system goes haywire and starts attacking your organs. It's a death sentence. Now see this number? 70 to 90%. That is the mortality rate for untreated tetanus. And the bacteria that causes it? It's everywhere. It lives in the soil. All it takes is one rusty nail, one deep splinter from chopping wood, and you could be facing muscle spasms so violent they can actually break your own bones. It's a horrifying way to go and a constant threat in a world without vaccines.
All right, next up, let's talk about how the environment itself becomes one of the biggest killers. Without all the infrastructure protecting us, the very world around you becomes hostile.
You know, we have this romantic idea of the lone survivor, right? Out on some remote homestead. Well, that's mostly a fantasy. The reality is people will huddle together for safety, for warmth, crammed into makeshift shelters. And you know what those conditions are perfect for? The spread of airborne diseases. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Pneumonia is a massive threat right now, even with modern medicine and hospitals. So what happens when you take all that away? A simple cough in a crowded room spreads like wildfire. It becomes a mass casualty event, especially for the young and the old. Let's just imagine a scenario. The grid is down for good. It's November, and the temperature inside your house, your home, has dropped to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's around 4 degrees Celsius. Now that doesn't sound like a death sentence, does it? But it can be. And that's the thing. Without climate control, you are totally at the mercy of the weather. Hypothermia doesn't just happen on a frozen mountaintop. It can happen slowly, inside your own house, if you're cold and wet and just can't get warm. The same thing goes for heat stroke in the summer. Our homes, our sanctuaries, they become deadly traps. So that brings us to our final and maybe the most sobering threat of all, the one that comes from within us. You see, even if you manage to avoid the diseases and survive the elements, you still have to survive yourself. Our modern bodies and minds are, frankly, incredibly fragile. So take a look at this number, 37 million. It's just a massive number. But this isn't some historical casualty count. This is a quiet crisis that's happening right now, every day. That's the number of Americans with diabetes. Millions of them, and hundreds of millions more around the world need a steady supply of medication like insulin just to stay alive. When the pharmacies are empty and the supply chains are broken, it's a slow but certain death. And it's the same for people with serious heart conditions, epilepsy, you name it. And beyond all the physical dangers, we have to talk about the mind. Just try to imagine the mental shock of watching everything you know, everything you trust, just dissolved around you. The constant state of fear, the loss. It would inflict a level of trauma that most of us are completely unprepared to handle. And what does that kind of trauma lead to? Well, you'd be looking at an absolute epidemic of PTSD and crippling depression. But the most dangerous of all of these, it's the loss of hope. When the will to live is gone, that can be just as fatal as any virus or wound. Okay,
So after going through all of these pretty grim threats, what's the real takeaway here? What does all this mean? Well, it means the true test of survival has nothing to do with how many guns or cans of food you have. It's about understanding what you're really up against. We've seen it. The things that are most likely to kill you aren't from the movies. They are silent. They're systemic. They're the pathogens in the water and in the dirt. They're the unrelenting heat and cold. And they're the fragility of our own modern bodies and our own minds.
The hard truth is, we are way more fragile than we like to admit. Our entire existence depends on this incredibly complex web of systems: sanitation, logistics, medicine, power grids, and we just take it all for granted. When that web breaks, we fall hard.
So I'll leave you with this final, really important question. It's not about what you have, it's about what you know. Can you make water safe to drink? Do you know how to clean a wound so it doesn't kill you? Do you have the mental toughness to keep going when everything is lost? Because at the end of the day, it's skills, not stuff, that will be the real currency of survival.